morning, everyone. I'm Shiza Akhtar, an intern at EduTV, and I am delighted to welcome you all to today's debate on a very timely and thought-provoking topic. Can India rely entirely on renewable energy by 2025 to achieve sustainable development? As we stand at the crossroad of climate change and rapid industrial growth, the shift to renewable energy is not just an option, it's a necessity. But the big question is, can we make a complete transition this soon? Today's debate will explore the opportunities, challenges, and the practicality of this goal from various perspectives. Before we begin, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Naman, a technology R&D engineer and an expert in sustainable innovations. His insights into emerging technologies and energy solutions have helped shape forward-thinking approaches in the sector. Over to you, Naman, sir.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Naman Rana. I did my studies back in the UK for Coventry University. I've graduated with a first class with honors, and now I'm working with India to, expand on the renewable energies and give better hopes and a better future for the whole of the country. And that can only be done when you have farmers with you to help you out. And that is why we have collaborated with the farmers across the country to help them out and, just produce energy and make them from, say, a food grower to an energy grower. Yeah, thanks.
So much, Naman, sir. Now let's, without any further ado, begin our debate competition. I would like to invite Ms. Niyati K. Gupta from Gyanshri School to come and speak up.
Thank you for the introduction. I'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Greetings to the jury members, my learned opponents, and all the climate crusaders watching this today. I am Niyati Gupta, representing Gyanshri School, and I rise today not to dim the light of progress, but to expose the shadows we are refusing to see today. The motion before us claims that India can run entirely on renewable energy by 2050, and I am here to speak against it. Now, while that makes for a spectacular headline, India set to ditch fossil fuels completely, I'm afraid the story underneath reads more like fiction than that. Let me be clear first. I am not against renewable energy. I am against oversimplification. Because the question today is not should we pursue renewables, it is can we rely on them entirely? I repeat, entirely by 2050? Let's start with a very spinal shift our power grid. Imagine sitting on your couch in August 2049, having the Times of India reported the collapse of northern India's grid. Why? Due to renewable fluctuations. Because while our solar capacity rose by 300% over 2 decades, our transmission infrastructure stood still, outdated, overwhelmed, and underfunded. Today, nearly 20% of solar power in Rajasthan is wasted, not for lack of sunlight, but because we have no way to carry it. That's like cooking dinner without a plate, ladies and gentlemen. Moreover, while we are busy daydreaming about floating solar farms, let's not forget that India will need 160 to 200 billion dollars annually until 2050 to achieve this green utopia. Well, that's not my estimate, that's the World Bank's to be clear. That's more than we spend on education and health combined. So I asked, do we have the capacity or even the clarity on where this money will come from? And you know what rarely makes headlines? 4 million Indians rely entirely on coal for livelihood. In states like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, coal isn't just fuel, it is food, school fees, and survival. So while we romanticize solar and wind, we need to know that their reality is unstable. A cloudy day can drop solar output by 80%. A still monsoon can kill wind production. So where do we stand with batteries? We have less than 40 gigawatt hour of grid scale storage today. And by 2050, we need 5 times that. How to recycle lithium ion at scale yet. Now, to those on the other side who say that technology will evolve, yes, it will, just like my board results will improve next year. Doesn't mean I bet my future on it. Now, the proposition might say, but coal is dirty, we must quit it entirely. And I agree, coal is dirty. But so is child labor in cobalt mines, so is deforestation in lithium extraction, so is dumping 2 lakh tons of solar panel waste annually without a clue where it goes. So let me ask, are we cleaning up or just shifting the dirt elsewhere? Now, the solution does not lie in extreme. It lies in balance. It lies in me, in you, in everyone hearing this to push for smart transitions, not blind leads. So, finally, to those for clapping for slogans like 100% renewables by 2050, I say vision without infrastructure is just a hallucination. A clean energy future is possible, but only when it's rooted in reality, not wrapped in rhetoric. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Anna Gupta from KIIT World School to come and speak about the topic. Anna, you're not audible actually. No, not at Anna. So that I would like to invite Nishit Jaiswal from Villa Vidya Mandir to come and speak about the topic. Is Nishit Jaiswal with us? All right. Siddhant Jain from GPS Bangalore. Please come up and speak about the topic.
Um, sh- so my name is Siddhant Jain. I'm from DPS Bangalore East, and today I will also be speaking against the motion that we India will achieve entirely renewable energy by 2050. I will read the exact statement. Can India rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development? Now, when my worthy opponent, or in this case, actually friend, said that India will not be able to rely completely, they didn't give too many facts. I'd like to do the maths on this. So, if we take solar panels and cover them entirely across the area of Rajasthan, which is our largest state, which, taking a generous estimate, a solar panel will give you 4 gigawatt hours for 1 meter squared. It'll give us around, let me pull up my numbers, it'll give us around 1800 terawatt hours. Wind energy by 2050 will also give us 1800 terawatt hours. This gives us 3600 terawatt hours. Now, 3600 terawatt hours is not nearly the same as the estimated 5000 terawatt hours that Terry estimates. Terry, the energy resources of India. Furthermore, hydroelectricity is capped in India. Hydroelectricity depends on water resources. Water resources like rivers can only be dammed a certain number of times. Water resources can only give us around 560 terawatt hours based on my calculations. We have another energy source which is just as good for sustainable development. This energy source is nuclear power. We have seen nuclear power being used a lot of times in history, and we've learned a lot from our mistakes with nuclear power. Nuclear power is an extremely viable source of clean energy. Though it is not renewable, so it won't fall under our topic today, I can use it as a counter argument for saying that India will not have to rely only on renewable sources. India can rely on sources like nuclear power, which can grow if we spend our resources instead of putting them into high capital intensive solar power and high capital intensive wind power. We can invest it in nuclear resources, and those will give us much better output. Furthermore, a study from Madras, IIT Madras, says that EVs, electric vehicles that everyone is boasting so much about how they're good for the environment, is actually worse for the environment than normal petrol vehicles. All EV power, almost all EV power, comes from burning fossil fuels. And making lithium ion batteries, so much fuel is lost in, so much energy is wasted in actually digging up the resources required. Finally, I would like to say that countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and other countries which have achieved almost 100% renewable energy have done so only because they have a very small population and they are able to harness hydroelectricity, which India is not able to do. Thank you.
Thank you, and for sharing your perspective. Now, I would like to invite students from Global Indian International School to come up and speak about it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Supriti. I'm Rishvi. And I'm Sanvi. And we are from GIS Tokyo. Today we are speaking against the topic, can India rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development? India's shift from non-renewable energy to entirely renewable energy in a short span of just 25 years is an impractical and nearly unachievable goal. The several factors to consider when implementing the change are geographical and climatic constraints, political dynamics, the issue of property rights in culturally sensitive areas, availability of resources and capital, time constraints, economic limits of the country, and socioeconomic conditions. Let's begin with India's vast geographic diversity, which makes 100% of renewable energy target by 2050 impractical and inequitable. India spans deserts, mountains, plains, forests, and coastlines, each with different potential for renewables. Yes, Rajasthan and Gujarat have strong solar capacity, and Tamil Nadu has favorable wind conditions, but this isn't true for all of India. For example, Punjab is agriculturally dense. Repurposing land for solar energy could harm food production and disrupt rural livelihoods. In North India, winter fog, pollution, and cold weather sharply reduce solar efficiency for months at a time. Cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru face space constraints and extremely high demand. Solar panels on rooftops won't meet the load. And areas prone to cyclones, landslides, and floods regularly see renewable infrastructure damaged or disrupted. A uniform target like 100% renewables assumes all regions are equally ready, which simply isn't the case. A region-sensitive, diversified approach is essential, which is extremely difficult to achieve. Thank you. The next barrier is technology and its uneven accessibility across India. Renewables like solar and wind are inherently intermittent. Solar works only during the day and drops during seasons like monsoon or winter, and wind obviously fluctuates by season. This makes energy shortage systems like lithium-ion batteries essential. But these are expensive and have short lifespans, and India currently lacks domestic battery manufacturing at scale. Another point to consider is that 70% of India's dependence on resources are non-renewable, and the shift to renewable resources is quite expensive. Large corporations who should be responsible to fund this shift do not normally take responsibility, and this pressure lies on the citizens at the end. Now, focus on the Northeast, a region often left out of mainstream planning. The Seven Sister States face hilly terrain, dense forests, and cloud-heavy weather. Grid access is limited, and power losses during transmission are high. These conditions make large-scale renewable deployment difficult and costly. Not to mention the amount of infrastructure that needs to be constructed in certain areas which are culturally sensitive. This isn't just about infrastructure, it's about people. Millions in remote and tribal areas already have unreliable or no access to electricity. A transition to inconsistent and underdeveloped renewable systems will push them deeper into energy poverty, affecting education, healthcare, and economic opportunity. Without equitable planning, the energy gap between urban and rural India will widen, not close.
Now, let's turn to the economic reality of this transition. To achieve 100% renewables, India needs an estimated $10 to $12 trillion by 2070. That includes solar panels, wind farms, energy storage, grid modernization, and workforce training. But India still faces poverty, unemployment, and a growing population with rising energy demands. We cannot ignore the human cost. Over 13 million people in India work directly or indirectly in fossil fuel sectors, especially coal. States like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Odisha rely on coal not just for energy but for employment, revenue, and economic stability. A sudden transition without reskilling programs or a just transition fund could lead to a mass job loss, migration, and social unrest as well. On the global front, India imports over 80% of its solar components, mostly from China. We also lack critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, and rare earths used in batteries and wind turbines. With rising geopolitical tensions, export bans, and supply chain instability, how do we secure these resources affordably? Without local manufacturing and reliable global access, scaling renewables remains vulnerable and volatile.
India's regional differences make a one size fits all energy plan unrealistic. Geography, climate, and land use vary too widely.
Technological and infrastructure gaps, especially in the Northeast and rural India, could worsen energy inequality during a rush transition. Not to mention that most plans for this kind of development have a deadline of 2070 and not 2050.
Economic constraints, dependence on fossil fuel jobs, and reliance on global supply chains make a full shift by 2050 not just difficult but risky.
India absolutely must move towards clean energy. But 100 renewables by 2050 ignores critical realities. It's not just about generating clean power, it's about keeping the lights on for everyone, from a farmer in Assam to a factory in Gujarat.
We advocate for a flexible, inclusive, and region specific transition, one that includes renewables, cleaner fossil fuels like natural gas, hydropower, nuclear, and energy efficiency reforms.
A 100% renewable target may sound good on paper, but in practice, it risks leaving millions behind. Let's aim not just for a green India, but a just, reliable, and an equitable one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your arguments were sharp, your researching truly thought-provoking. Now, I would like to invite Sonia and Devashish from Ramdas Public School to come and speak about the topic.
Sorry for the interruption. I am from KIT World School and I'm ready now.
All right, you can speak after Ramdas.
Okay, no problem, sir.
Am I audible?
You surely are.
Respected judges and my dear friends, today I stand before you to speak for the motion. Yes, India can rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development. Let's begin by understanding what this means. Renewable energy includes sources like solar, wind, hydro, and bioenergy, naturally replenishable and clean. Now, the real question is, can the clean and green and unlimited energy sources power India's future while ensuring inclusive growth and environmental safety? Absolutely, yes, and here's why. Firstly, India is naturally gifted with renewable resources. We receive more than 5,000 trillion kilowatt hours of solar radiation every year. Our long coastlines make wind energy a huge opportunity. Rivers and biomass resources are abundant. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, India can meet over 80% of its needs from renewable by 2050. With strong planning, they can push it up to 100%. Secondly, the technology is advancing rapidly. Solar panels are becoming more efficient, but wind turbines more powerful, and energy storage more affordable. Battery storage, pumped hydro, and green hydrogen are solving the problem of intermittency. The price of solar energy in India is now among the lowest in the world, even cheaper than coal in many cases. Renewable energy is not just good for the planet, it's becoming the cheapest source of power. Thirdly, the shift is already underway. India has committed to achieve net zero emissions by 2070 and aims for 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030. Massive solar parks are being built. Rooftop solar is empowering households. Remote villages are getting electricity through microgrids. We are creating jobs, improving health by reducing pollution and giving access to all. This is sustainable development in action. Fourth, the economic benefits are clear. Investing in renewable creates more jobs per unit of energy than fossil fuel. It, re- it reduces our dependency on imported coal and oil, saving billions. It encourages innovation and local entrepreneurship. It also supports India's global leadership in climate action. Finally, this is not a dream, it's a necessity. Climate change is real. Our air is polluted, our cities are choking. We can't afford to delay. The question is not we can rely on renewable. It's can we afford not to? Future demands bold action, and India has the resources, the talent, and the ambition to lead this green revolution. In conclusion, with the right policies, public awareness, and technological innovation, India can and must rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development. It's just not possible, it's essential. Thank you.
A very good morning, respected jury members and my fellow competitors. I am Sanya Arora from Ramjas Public School reporting, and today I will be speaking against the motion. With India's increasing population comes the need of increasing energy. While we like to think that renewable energy is a very sustainable and easier option, but it can it may not be able to fulfill the energy demands of India by 2050. Follow up with me during my part and you will know why. Renewable energy sources like wind, solar, and hydropower are being widely recognized and used in India from the past few years. Yet, they come with their own cons. We might think that if we get a solar panel, electricity is much more cheaper to us, and we no more are using fossil fuels that are harming the environment. But what we don't know is solar panels require high maintenance and are to be changed in every 15 to 20 years. And they're not very cheap either. And in a country like India, where there are different temperatures and weathers throughout, hydropowers can be highly affected by droughts, floods, rising sea levels, etc. Wind energy is also affected quite directly by wind forces which are not stable in India. India is a developing country. While we move forward towards clean energy with a positive approach, we need to be more realistic through the transit for fully relying on renewable energy sources by 2050. Not only will it be a big financial challenge for India, but also India's current energy infrastructure would require a significant amount of updates, which are not possible in such a short period of time. Also, my friends, let's not forget that renewable energy sources like solar and wind are intermittent, which means that they require backup power sources or energy storage solutions. The National Institute of Solar Energy in Haryana and the National Institute of Wind Energy in Tamil Nadu have suggested that India cannot produce all of its 5,000 trillion watt hours of electricity demand by 2050 from wind and solar energy alone. I am not denying that India will not be transitioning towards renewable energy, but going through all these hurdles and challenges, it is not possible in such a short period of time. A more realistic approach would be to aim for a diversified energy mix, including variable renewable energy sources like biomass, geothermal, and small hydropower. Investing in energy storage solutions and promoting international cooperations can also help accelerate India's transition to renewable energy. For now, by 2050, India can only rely 60% on fossil fuel energy and 40% on renewable energy. This approach will not only ensure energy security, but also it will create jobs and stimulate the economic growth in the renewable energy sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights during the debate. I now invite Anna Gupta from KIIT to share her thoughts. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Arna Gupta. I'm presenting KIIT World School today. Greetings to the members present here. I know it sounds great, India running completely on clean green energy by 2050. Sounds futuristic, sounds ideal. But let's just pause for a second and ask ourselves, are we truly ready for that shift? I'm not here to knock renewable energy. I repeat, I'm not here to knock renewable energy. It's crucial. But can we really afford to hinge our entire future on it by 2050? That's where the real concern lies. Right now, more than 70% of our electricity still comes from coal. Our factories, our trains, even our homes depend on fossil fuels. And switching to 100% renewables in just 25 years means we would need a complete overhaul of our energy systems. It's not about being pessimistic, it's about being realistic. Let's not rush into a future we are not really prepared for. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, speed is irrelevant if you're going in the wrong direction. So today I'm here to explain why India cannot fully rely on renewables for sustainable development by 2050. Not yet, not without facing serious challenges. Replacing all of that with just solar and wind, that's not just ambitious, it's a borderline unrealistic. We are struggling with power cuts, even in major cities today. How are we supposed to power the entire nation with energy sources that depend on the sun shining and the wind blowing? And yes, the battery storage exists, but it's incredibly expensive and nowhere near the scale we need. As the International Renewable Energy clearly states, renewables alone cannot yet provide consistent baseload power without reliable storage solutions. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked: land. These massive solar and wind projects are in small setups. They demand vast stretches of land. And where does that land usually come from? Our villages, our forests, and the fields that grow our food. Land acquisition for solar and wind farms has sparked controversy and protest in many of the states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. In Rajasthan alone, solar parks have led to over 10,000 hectares of land being repurposed for solar energy projects. So while we are busy going green, are we really being sustainable if we are displacing the very people we are supposed to protect? If our approach to sustainability ends up in harming communities and ecosystems, can we truly call it sustainable? Now let's take the economic perspective into account. Moving to 100% renewables means we will have to shut down coal mines and thermal power plants, leading to the loss of millions of jobs. I would like to ask my worthy opponents, do we have a clear plan for this transition? Are we providing training for these workers or offering alternative opportunities? Or are we just expecting them to abandon their livelihoods for a vision that might not be ready yet? In India, about 2.7 million jobs, yes, 2.7 million jobs are directly tied to coal and other fossil fuel industries, including coal miners, truck drivers, and power plant workers. Now, as we talk about transitioning to a renewable future, we have to ask, who will be responsible for the loss of livelihoods for these millions of workers? These people are not just numbers, they are the backbone of the energy sector, supporting their families and communities. We can't just pull the rug from under them without a clear, comprehensive plan. Transitioning to renewable energy will require rescaling, retraining these workers. But current programs are insufficient to address such large scale shift. There's an undeniable yet a simple fact. India is still a developing country. While we are making tremendous strides, we are still grappling with a range of economic issues. Every year, we run a budget deficit. And despite our best efforts, we often struggle to meet even the basic needs of our population. How can we even begin to imagine bearing the trillions of dollars it would take to transition to 100% renewable energy by 2050? In fact, it's not just a small sum we are talking about. Experts estimate that transitioning India to a fully renewable economy could cost as much as $10 trillion, which is around rupees 700 lakh crore. That's an amount larger than India's entire GDP. With such massive economic challenges and deficits already, how can India afford this kind of expenditure, especially when our priorities should be addressing poverty, job creation, infrastructure development, and ensuring energy access for all? So, yes, the vision of a fully renewable India by 2050 is beautiful. It's a dream painted in hues of green and gold, where the sun and wind fuel our future and the skies are free of smoke. But let's not confuse our vision with a viable plan. Not yet, because as things stand today, that dream, though noble, remains just that a dream. Let us chase the dream, yes, but let us also walk with our eyes open. Thank you.
Thank you for the enriching discussion. Now I would like to welcome a speaker from OPS International School to share the reflections. Over to you.
First of all, good morning to all present. Respected So, first of all, good morning to all who are listening here to me. So, I am here to discuss about can India rely entirely on renewable resources for sustainable development for 2050. So, yes, India can rely. First, I want to talk about abundant renewable potential. India has abundant renewable potential means high renewable resources available. India has immense solar over 500 trillion kilowatt years and wind energy potential, enough to meet the entire country's electricity demand multiple times over. Second point we can say about rapid technological advancement. Innovations in solar panels such as wind turbines, battery, and are making renewables much effective and cost effective. Third, we can talk about cost competitiveness. Solar and wind power are now cheaper than new coal plants in India, making them economically viable without any change. After that, it can provide job also. The jobs such as photo, such as wind PV, such as bioenergy, and many. After that, we can say about renewable resources can reduce air and wind pollution for the better public health. After, we can also say that energy access and equity is decentralized renewable solutions like solar microgrids can bring power to every village, improving educations, healthcare, and livelihoods. Lastly, I want to talk about long term economic benefits. By using renewable resources, we can enjoy long term economical benefits because the costs of renewable energy are too cheaper as compared to coals, fossil fuels. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Now, I would like to invite Father Simla from Dev Samaj Vidya Niketan Senior Secondary School to speak for the motion.
Thank you, ma'am. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Our future depends on what we do today." Good morning, respected judges, fellow participants. I am Kavya Singla from Dev Samaj Vidya Niketan, Senior Secondary School, Gurugram. I am here in motion of the topic, India can completely rely on use of the solar energy resources to achieve sustainable development by 2050. I would like to begin with simple thought. When sun shines every day, when wind blows continuously, when rivers flow endlessly, then why should we rely on those resources that exploit our nature? The use of renewable energy resources such as hydro, solar, wind are the free gifts of the nature, produced endlessly and do not harm our planet. These energy resources cause smoke, do not cause smoke, pollution in air, and hence do not exploit our nature. India is already on the path of becoming the hub of renewable energy resources, and we can expect that by the 2050, the India will become completely dependent on the use of the renewable energy resources. Most of the cities has adapted the practice of installation of solar panels. Most of the peoples depends on wind energy. Farmers are using solar pumping systems. Most of the people say that energy resources are not reliable. But to that, I would like to tell that with modern advancements in the technology, the use of renewable energy resources has become reliable. Solar panels even work on the cloudy days. Windmills work regularly, even in the adverse weather conditions. Do you know that millions of the people across the globe depend upon the renewable energy sources for their job opportunities? The government of India are providing the subsidies on the use of the renewable energy resources, and the sale of the solar panels are much now increasing in the modern era. From installation of the solar panels to maintenance of the windmills, the labor-intensive techniques is required everywhere. Renewable sources of energy cause the positive result of creating job opportunities in both rural and urban areas, helping significantly to increase the GDP of the country. And yes, it is not just about the energy, but if the air is clean, water is pure, planet is clean, then it will surely create environment generations. I would conclude by saying renewable energy resources are not more just an option, but responsibility and every person living on it. The option will be difficult, but not a country like it where there are the adequate resources, clean air, water, land, adequate technology, then why not be expand sustainable development through the renewable energy by 2050? If we can, then who will? Thank you so much.
The last part that you said was cutting. The audio was very bit off. Can you repeat that last part, please? Just the last 1 minute, basically.
Okay. And yes, this is not just about the energy, but if air is clean, water is pure, planet is clean, then it will create secure environment for our future generation. So I would like to conclude by saying renewable energy resources are not no more just an option, but they are now responsibility of every person. The adoption may be difficult, but not impossible. In the country like India, where there are the adequate resources, clean air, clean water, and the adequate level of the technology, then why should we expect the adoption of the renewable resources by 2050? We cannot do, and who will do? Thank you so much.
Now I would like to invite Chavi from Vidyasagar International School, Faridabad, to come and speak about the topic. Over to you, Chavi. Chavi, can you please unmute?
Good morning, everyone. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. With this quote, I, Chavi, from 12th standard from Vidyasagar International School, good morning to all. Greeting of the day to honorable judges and my worthy opponents. I stand firmly in favor of the motion that India can rely entirely on the renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development. Let me begin by stating a simple truth. Renewable energy is not just an option anymore, it is a necessity. First and foremost, India is blessed with abundant renewable resources. We have 300 sunny days in a year, a vast coastline for wind energy, and immense potential in hydropower and biomass. According to International Renewable Energy Agency, India has the technical potential to generate over 700 gigawatt of renewable power. That means our geography is our greatest asset. Secondly, the cost of renewable energy is falling rapidly. Solar and wind are cheaper than coal in many parts of the country. This economic advantage makes a cleaner transition possible but also profitable, contributing to environmental protection. India is also focusing on developing green hydrogen, a promising clean energy carrier produced using renewable energy sources. Third, the environmental impact of sticking to fossil fuels is catastrophic. From air pollution, killing over 1 million Indians annually, to the devastating effects of climate change on our agriculture, water supply, and biodiversity. India cannot afford the luxury of inactions. Switching to renewable energy sources helps reduce air pollution and improve public health. Renewable energy directly supports the goal of economic growth, climate action, and affordable energy. Moreover, India has already made huge strides. The nation has set an ambitious target of achieving 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuels capacity by 2030 and is among the top 5 countries in renewable energy capacity. The government's focus on electricity, mobility, green hydrogen, and decentralized energy solutions shows strong political will and long-term vision. Biofuels would have to account for 90% of the transport fuel requirements by 2050. in order to achieve sustainable goals, and this technology will become commercially viable beyond 2030. In conclusion, India has the resources, the technology, the economic rationale, and the urgent need to switch completely to renewable energy by 2050. Not only is it possible, it is the only sustainable path forward. Thank you all for listening me keenly and providing me such a great opportunity. Once again, thank you.
Now I would like to invite Kanishka Mahajan from DAP International School to come and speak about the things.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Honorable judges and esteemed delegates, the motion before us today is whether India can rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development. While the proposition paints a picture of bright renewable powered future, I, Tanishka, stand here to present the case that this is not only technologically unrealistic but also potentially harmful to India's economy in the coming decades. First, let's talk about the growing energy demand in India. India is the world's most populous country, and by 2050, our population is expected to exceed 1.5 billion. Along with this, the rapid pace of urbanization and industrialization will escalate the country's energy demand. According to a recent data, India's energy demand is growing at a rate of 5 to 6% annually, which is highest globally. At present, renewables account for about 46% of India's energy mix, but they cannot yet provide the constant, reliable baseload power required by our energy hungry economy. Secondly, the issue of intermittency cannot be overlooked. Solar energy works only when the sun shines, and wind energy fluctuates with the weather conditions. Without affordable and large scale energy storage solutions, such as efficient batteries and pumped hydro storage, renewables cannot alone be relied on, which cannot be feasible too. And while we hear frequent promises of breakthroughs in battery technology, the fact remains the same that large scale storage solutions requires a lot of money and are inefficient. The idea that we can overcome these technological challenges within 25 years while also supplying 24/7 power to a growing population of 1.5 billion people is overly optimistic at best and dangerous at worst. Lastly, political and policy uncertainty remains a huge barrier. India's energy policies are often subject to frequent changes. We have witnessed shifting priorities in government strategies, sometimes pausing the renewable projects and cutting the subsidies. This political inconsistency and bureaucratic delays are major hurdles for any long term investment and transition to renewable energy. Moreover, large-scale renewable projects like solar farms and wind turbines face local opposition and land acquisition issues. For instance, in states of Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu, where renewable energy projects are already underway, land disputes and local resistance have led to significant delays. In some cases, the government has delayed subsidies and implemented certain tax hikes, making it challenging for the private investors to feel confident in the future of renewable energy. Without consistent government support, the transition will be fraught with risks. Honorable judges, while renewable energy is undeniably a crucial component of India's future, 100% reliance on renewables by 2050 is simply unrealistic. India's growing energy demand, the intermittency issues, and political and policy uncertainties make this goal unachievable in such a short time frame. Instead, we must pursue a balanced energy mix, combining renewable energy with the nuclear power and carbon capture technologies, ensuring energy security and environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Now I would like to invite Purvi Khandeja from Imperial Heritage School to come and speak on the topic.
Just give me a second. Yes, I'll start. Imagine this: a father no longer returns from a coal mine coughing his lungs out. A child does not need to carry an oxygen cylinder to school because of the toxic air. Fossil fuels are left untouched for the future generation. Our rivers aren't choked and our skies aren't green. This isn't a dream. This is the India we can build. An India powered entirely by renewable energy by 2050. Good morning, Honorable Judge, respected faculty members, my worthy opponents, and the audience. I, Purvi from Imperial Heritage School, stand before you to speak for the motion Can India rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development? I strongly believe that with implementation of technologies and changes in the system, India can easily move ahead to renewable nation. India receives nearly 5,000 trillion kilowatt hours of solar energy every year, far more than our national annual energy consumption. Add to that the power of wind, biomass, small hydro, and waste to energy, and India's renewable potential exceeds 1,000 gigawatts. I disagree with my opponents who argue that renewable energy is economically unviable. In truth, solar tariffs in India hit a record low of 1.99 unit in 2020, while coal averages rupees 4 to 5 unit, excluding hidden costs like pollutions and health impacts. A 1 megawatt solar plant, once costing rupees 700 crores in 2010, now costs under rupees 4 crores. Operating costs are near zero, with no fuel expenses. With government incentives and green financing, return on to investment is faster than ever. By 2027, renewables are projected to outperform fossil fuels in both affordability and reliability, making them the smarter economic choice. Now, the size of the population is a concern. But I firmly believe our population is not a barrier. It's our biggest strength. Rooftop solars on schools, homes, and even train stations can transform everyday spaces into powerhouses. These centralized grids give villages autonomy and local employment shoots up. The renewable sector already employs over 1,11,000 people in India, and by 2030, the number is expected to hit 3 million. To conclude, I believe this shift isn't about switching fuels, it's about switching mindsets. It's not only sustainable, it's necessary. With proper policies, grid upgrades, localized solutions, and strong political will, we can lead the world in renewable energy, not as a follower, but a forerunner. I choose innovation over inertia. I choose equity over exploitation. I choose power that uplifts, not pollutes. And I believe so can India. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Pranati Pandita from GD Goenka Public School to come up and speak about the topic.
Thank you. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. A cheerful morning to esteemed jury members, my worthy opponents, and the august gathering. It is with great honor that I, Pranvi Pandita of 12th Commerce, stand before you today representing GD Goenka Public School to share my views on the topic. Can India rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 to achieve sustainable development? And I would voice my opinion in favor of the motion. Imagine a world where air pollution is no longer a threat to our health, where energy is clean, abundant, and accessible to all, and where climate change is no longer a looming crisis. It may sound like a distant dream, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the world renewable energy can create. Renewable energy harnesses the power of nature, revolutionizing the way we produce and consume energy. It reduces our reliance on fossil fuels, curbs harmful emissions, and provides clean, sustainable power for future generations. Solar, wind, and hydro energy can create jobs, boost economies, and address pressing issues like energy poverty and climate change. Renewables also empower communities, reduce healthcare costs linked to pollution, and foster innovation by creating a cleaner, greener world. Let's talk about some statistics. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, renewable energy could create over 85 million jobs globally by 2050, while contributing up to $98 trillion dollars to the global economy. A report by the World Bank shows that every $1 invested in renewable energy generates $3 in economic benefits. During times of crisis, it was renewable energy that ensured power to remote areas, supported healthcare systems, and provided essential services, proving that a clean, green future isn't just possible but necessary. You might be surprised to know that renewable energy isn't a new concept either. In fact, windmills have been used for centuries, and the first solar cell was developed in the 19th century. If renewable energy isn't a new idea, why do we still debate its viability? Why do some claim that it's unreliable and too expensive? It's because it is human nature to resist change. Every new technology has faced skepticism, from electricity to the internet, all of which were once feared for disrupting industries and livelihoods. Yet, these technologies revolutionized the world, created jobs, and improved lives. Renewable energy is no different. It's the future. And like past innovations, it will transform the world for the better. To conclude, let me echo the words of a former UN Secretary General, Ban Ki moon. There is no plan B because there is no planet B. India's potential to rely entirely on renewable energy by 2050 is not just a dream, it is a tangible reality. With its vast natural resources, advancing technology, and a global commitment to sustainability, India is poised to lead the world in this transformation. The question isn't whether it is possible, it is. The question is whether we are ready to act, to embrace this change, and to invest in a future that ensures a sustainable world for generations to come. Let us be the architects of this future where renewable energy powers not just our homes, but our hopes. With this, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being so wonderful. Now, I would like to invite our last contestant for today, Nishit Jaiswal from Birla Vidya Mandir, Nainital. Over to you, Nishit. Is Nishit there? It's on. Thank you so much to everyone for being a part of today's debate. A big shout out to all the participants for your powerful arguments, clarity of thought, and the enthusiasm you brought to the stage. You truly made this discussion meaningful and engaging. I would like to thank Tropicana University, Dehradun, India, and Symbiosis International University, Dubai. Kisan Gas, who are experts in biofuel, and Mr. Naman Rana, sir, who have done such wonders in a young age. And now to appreciate our wonderful participants and share a few closing thoughts, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Naman sir, our esteemed technology R&D engineer and our judge for today.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like a debate as much as a speech round. Are we not going to bring up our points and our rebuttals against each other in possibly an open session for maybe 10 to 15 minutes?
Well, I would more than welcome that if the EduTV team is comfortable. I'll be fine with that. Anyways, I was about to point out a few good things and counterintuitive things in both of these things, considering what is happening realistically and what is happening unrealistically in India, obviously. And one thing I'd like to point out that the against team was the team that was going against the whole point of saying, can we do this entirely renewable energy by 2050? Honestly, considering how much big of a population that we have at the moment right now, it is very difficult. It is very difficult indeed. Some might say even impossible. And but one thing that we have not realized and not seen yet is some people have pointed out the subsidies and how the economics of all of this performs. And that was a very brilliant point because any business, really literally any business, can only work if you have enough subsidies and enough support by the government. So say if I want to put up a renewable energy plant, say I want to make a solar park. Sounds brilliant, right? And if it's costing me 10 rupees to do like 10 kilometers of it, then the government needs to be supporting me, saying that they give me like 70% subsidy. And that way I have to just give like, say, 3 rupees instead of, the whole 10 rupees. And I can put the whole plant worth 10 rupees in just 3. And that's how you do the whole, the economic side of these things. You use the government support, you bring in some international partners, and then you develop on the technology and bring them forwards. But one thing that is for sure is that it'd be very difficult to do that without the use of nuclear energy. And I wonder how many here have seen, has anyone of you seen Iron Man movies? Raise your hands just if you've seen it. Anyone Iron Man movies? Anyone RDJ fan, Marvel fans? All right, cool. So if you've seen his reactors, have you seen his reactor, the thing that glows in his chest? That's a nuclear reactor. That's a nuclear fusion reactor. What we have in our world right now is what we're using is a nuclear fission reactor, and we mostly use uranium. And we know how we know if that goes wrong, how that turns out. History has repeated itself many times, but India has something that the rest of the world doesn't have. We have vast amount of raw material for thorium. And thorium is one of the best, most safest version of nuclear energy that we can create before 2050 and be able to create those sorts of renewable energies. And that is just the nuclear side of things. That is already very exciting. And apart from that, we also have biofuels. India having 3 colors of orange, the orange, amber, and the orange, white, and the green. The green is agriculture. We all know that. And the best thing that is green can produce, we can use a lot of energy. We can produce a lot of energy from just biofuels. And during the whole conversation of this renewable energy, a lot of people pointed out wind energy, solar energy. I know hydro energy is like kind of, it's a sort of a give or take situation. Like it's not something that is available to the most of India. It is something very prominent in the northern region because of the mountains and the natural water reservoirs that we have. But in the southern region, not too much, maybe some in the plateau, but that's how it is. The green we can grow everywhere. Like even if you take a flight, you take a look down, you can see it's everywhere. You'd see India, it's green. Well, apart from the cities, everywhere it's green. And the best part is that we can take that, and from that green, we can take that and put that into something we call a digester. The digester are these like big sorts of cylindrical, like imagine a cylinder, right? Imagine a cylinder which is about 9 meters tall. So about 9 meters to 20 meters tall, and it's 36 meters in diameter. 36 meters in diameter is like 6 cars in diameters. 6 long cars together that's how big that is. In that, what we do is we take green energy, we take plants, we take waste, we put them in, and we let it just, sort of rot and produce a methane, CH4. We let that go up in the balloon. The balloon takes the gas, and we sort of filter it through different filters. And after a while, what we have is pure methane. That pure methane, we can then produce a green hydrogen. We can produce aviation fuel. We can literally use it for jet fuels. We can use it for cars. We can use it for all sorts of things. Bioethanol, a lot of people would have heard of ethanol, and that's a big thing. And equally, the thing is that mix that comes out of natural methane, the CH4, is so strong that we can produce almost all the fuel that we need and all the application and its variety that we need. But we don't have enough infrastructure right now to be able to allow the whole thing. And it would be upon the government to be able to do that. And the one thing government is very much fixated on right now is green energy, because internationally, India has a lot of population. And we are forced to sort of, make green energy or like face a lot of fines in billions of dollars. And we don't want to be poor, really. Like, come on, man. So that's why we have a responsibility. As big as our population is, it's bigger our bigger is the sort of responsibility to be able to produce that source of energy greenly and, non-pollutingly. And that is why it is essential for us for 2050. Obviously, probably won't be able to do that in 2050, and 2070 is where we have promised internationally already. We have signed the papers in Geneva and everything to be able to be carbon neutral by 2070. So green energy by 2050, even if not 100%, we'd be like 50% way out there, maybe more. And that's the kind of checkpoint that we need. Maybe not 2050, but by 2070, we'll be very good to go. And one thing that I think no one pointed out today, and people can take a look at, is there's this thing called Viksit Bharat program. Viksit Bharat. Some of you might have heard of it. Viksit Bharat is basically an initiative by Indian government where we want to, it's basically from 1947 to 2047, 100 years of independence. All right, we gained independence from the British. What did we do after 100 years? Where do we stand? Can we call ourselves a developed nation? Or are we still the stereotypical, you Google the first thing in the Indian boy and it's basically a guy in the West? Are we still that? You guys get me? So that is what it is. The Viksit Bharat program, that focuses a lot on green economy and green energy. And if everything goes well, if the subsidies that are already there implemented, if that goes along well, we'll be able to achieve a lot of good in 2050 and 2047. And by 2070, be probably carbon neutral. Right. Any questions? Anything you guys would like to ask me? I'm open and very good to everyone. So yeah, I think that'll be it from me.
When you were speaking about nuclear energy, you referred to the fission, right? Fission
Yeah.
of thorium to, I think, lead is what you were referring to.
Yeah.
So what's the viability of that? And doesn't that leave a lot of waste? So I also thought about nuclear energy, but I was just confused on how nuclear energy can be called a clean energy when it leaves waste.
Because the waste that is left behind is not even 1% of the scale of what the after effects of using coal, or maybe say using any sort of fossil fuel would be. Fossil fuel would leave a lot of after effects in form of emissions. We don't have those sorts of emissions in the nuclear energy. The waste that we do have, we can take care of it without producing emissions. And that doesn't produce any heat as well. And that is what we want to take care of. So the global warming, the heat is under control. It's like a variable in the output equation that we need to take care of to minimize that. And the emissions also one of the variables of the output equation that we need to minimize. And the input would obviously be the cost. How much do we put in? And the raw materials and the resources that we have. The ratio for the efficiency of how much energy you produce while producing the least amount of waste. In that sense, nuclear is doing actually quite well. And we have a lot of thorium. It's just the government has to have some sort of, actual initiative to be able to kickstart these nuclear programs, because we as of my information, we don't have any subsidies in terms of nuclear reactors or thorium reactors. And honestly, we don't have a lot of very many skilled people who can work in this field, who have previous experience, because the industry has not exactly boomed in India before.
Yeah, I agree. We also have the Homi Bhabha Atomic Energy Center, I think that exists. And secondly, coming to greenhouse gas and emissions, global warming, you said methane. But
Yeah.
from my general understanding, methane is also one of the biggest greenhouse gases.
Yeah, but all right, so say we have methane, right? And say we just have fuels in car, we have petrol. And after you use your car, what does come out of the exhaust? It's carbon monoxide, COX, right?
Correct.
Carbon
Yeah, carbon
monoxide.
monoxide and carbon dioxide, a mix of both. I think.
Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. Dioxide is already kind of there. It helps the plants as well, the trees as well, but carbon monoxide is the harmful one. So let's
Poisonous.
focus on carbon monoxide for a second, right?
Yeah, it's poisonous. That I agree is just
Yeah.
immensely bad.
So let's imagine there's carbon monoxide in the air. And what I'm about to tell you is something Porsche, the car company, and the government of Chile is working on a joint project. It's called the Carbon Neutral Fuels Project. Take a look at that. So what we have is we have carbon monoxide in the air. We have carbon capture, as someone very brilliantly pointed out. We have carbon capture and storage technologies, which is very nice. Basically, a bunch of fans which are sucking air from the environment, and then they compress the air and they filter it out till they purify the whole thing. Basically, what we have is we take carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide from the air. We take the carbon component out of it. We introduce water, so H2O, and we use chemical reactions to be able to take the carbon monoxide and H2O and to be able to produce CO2 and CH4 as a waste. And that way, we have CH4, which is our methane, the fuel, the warming thing. And then we can use that fuel as and then we can take the fuel, we can produce ethanol with it. And with that ethanol, we can use that as a fuel blend. And using that fuel blend, the amount of carbon dioxide that comes out of the car when they burn that, and the amount of carbon dioxide that we again suck from the air to produce the same fuel, should have no carbon emissions at all. That should break even. And that is how we go carbon neutral. That is how at least Porsche and the government of Chile is doing it. And that, as our current technology stands, is one of the better technologies to help out.
I understand. I heard something like this also happening in where there's an Indian company.
Thank you so much for speaking, sir. Thank you for your thoughts, sir. Spoken so wonderfully by all our students. Each one of you brought something unique to the table. The results will be announced within a week. As judging such brilliant performances not an easy task, Mr. Naman sir and our team are working on it. And yes, every participant will be receiving a certificate for their valuable contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.